It's a great day to start. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome you, sir. So we have with us Mr. Srivatsan Ranganathan, Chartered Accountant, and he's here today to address all of us and talk to us about various career options available in the field of finance and accounting. So we wanted to also talk about the school. The Pupil Savita Eco School was started in the year 2012 under the flagship of Dr. N.M. Veerayan, with a great vision to transform students into a balanced and mature individual with sound body, mind, and spirit, ready to meet the challenges of the 21st century with zeal and enthusiasm. A warm welcome to you, sir. Our beloved directors, Dr. Savita and Dr. Rajesh, are the visionaries behind every initiatives with the illuminating ideas and are an inspiration to all of us in each and every step. Welcome, sir and ma'am. The Pupil Career Talk Series is yet another initiative to introduce the wide spectrum of career opportunities available for children. The event is open to all school children between the grades 8 to 12. We welcome all parents and students for this yet another enriching session of Career Talk. May I now request Mrs. Sandana Arumugam to introduce the speaker?
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. The speaker of the day, Mr. Srivatsan Ranganathan, is a man with strong academic credential and a person with more than 25 years of experience with a diverse industrial and overseas exposure as a finance professional. He has been holding positions as business enabler, strategy partner, controller in treasury, compliance, and audit. Sir has been a very studious and a meritorious student from his young age. He was a topper from grade 10 and has cleared the ICWAI and the CA exams in his first attempt. He has also achieved All India rank 13 in CA inter exam. He started his career as a regional finance manager at ICI India Limited and worked for Siemens, Panalpina World Transport, Agility Logistics, Sirens NAS Middle East, holding various positions from finance manager to country CFO. He is now practicing chartered accountant in Chennai for high-profile companies and institutions. We could think of no one but Sir to not only talk about finance to our children, but to talk about various issues they can face in life. Very warm welcome to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Can be little more louder?
Yeah, I will try to be even more louder. Is this all right for everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity. I think Ms. Sandana Arumugam has been very gracious in her introduction that she has complicated my job, that I will have to live to the expectations what she has taken. But I shall endeavor to do. Okay? Now, what I have tried to do is I have divided my presentation into two parts. There is always the normal thing that people talk about when they are talking about a career. Like, this is the path you need to take. This is what is a career in finance means. And this, if you do it, you will end up like this. And then there is something which I think has to be spoken about generally about what is career and what is it that you will have to do if you will have to be successful in whatever you choose. So I thought I will divide this into the two parts, but the way I have structured my presentation is I'm trying to make it in a seamless way that where the overlapping will arise, that nobody will be able to realize. So with that small note, I'm starting my introduction, and I believe I'm still audible and very much visible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Okay. On March 12, 1930, I'm taking you back 91 years, if I'm right, in history. On March 12, 1930, Mahatma Gandhi started his Dandi March, or what is called as the Salt Satyagraha. Those people who do not know the fractious part of the history is, we have been taught a history which I think is half cooked, neither there nor here. More of the imperialistic touch to it. So what I thought, I will use the Dandi Satyagraha as the trigger part of my presentation about this career planning for a certain reason. Okay, you will understand the reasoning also to it. So on March 12, 1930, the Dandi March started. It was for a distance of about roughly 400 kilometers, or 393 to be exact. 393 kilometers over a 25-day journey. It ended on April 6, 1930, where the Mahatma picked up a pound of salt, saying, why should we pay taxes on the salt that is there in our country? Why should we pay taxes on something that is basic for our existence? Why should we pay, or why should we cooperate with the government by paying a tax on what is our own property or our own self? So the search for salt was what triggered the the civil disobedience movement or the non-cooperation movement, and to that it even made Mr. Mahatma Gandhi the Time magazine's person of the year for the year 1930. Not many people, even in the Congress government at that time, understood the value of salt. The reason why I picked this as the theme is, when we talk of career planning, or when I also thought of career planning when I finished my CA, etc., I was wanting to look at what salt am I worth for. It is always that fistful of salt. And let me tell you, that fistful of salt that I have been searching, or I'm still searching some parts of it, it keeps going on and on. So join me in this searching for one's salt. When we talk of career, what is it that we understand? Normally, the choice of picking a career itself is not available with many of us. Those people who are around us, they tell us, okay, you should become an engineer, you should become a doctor, or you should become a chartered accountant, or you should become an architect, or something to it. Sometimes it is the choices with us. So I'm just posing this as an introspection. People can mull over this. We will revisit this slide in the end. This is definitely a lot of thought for the days to come. And then those people who picked the particular choice of career, did they end up in that career choice which they picked? And if they did not end up in the career which they picked, can we call that they were all failures in life, or there are success stories in that? Then comes the issue. If you are simply talking about taking a path as a career, is that career all about, or it has something around, something more to it, like there is more fringes to it, there is something add-on to it, there is something personality to it, there is something ethicality to it, or more to it? Then, does this career remain constant, or we need to keep reviewing it? Can people switch careers? Can people perform against all odds? These are points I'm leaving for introspection. So I'm starting with the searching for salt, but I'm starting then with the introspection. So I want everybody, including, please, if you feel, or let it not be a monologue, it can be a dialogue. Any of you can interrupt me, ask me questions, just raise your hand or drop a question in the chat window, and I'll be more than happy to address it, or you could raise it even with any one of the moderators who can help us out on that. So let's make it a session or a mutually dialogue session rather than a monologue session. So these questions which I have posed over here on this slide are all points of introspection. We will revisit this slide definitely. Now let me jump into the main question in this. May I request that you all mute your lines for the time being. I hear certain disturbances. Thank you very much for helping me out by doing so. So, right away, let me get into the point of what are the paths that are available if somebody is choosing finance. Let me start by saying there are endless possibilities, but the road that you can take are fourfold. Number one, you can become an industry professional. You can start as a finance manager, a chief accountant, a tax handling person in a corporate, or say you can be somebody who's writing even basic accounting. You can be somebody who's drawing the balance sheet, the trial balance. All these things are accounting terms. Not to worry. You can decide somebody who's managing the monies. Where does the money come? Where does the money go? How do I distribute it, etc. So you can end up as an industry professional. That's one choice for you. Number two, you can end up as a sectoral specialist. When I mean a sectoral specialist, somebody might like to be an expert in insurance. Somebody might like to be an expert in financial services. Somebody might be wanting to specialize in banking. And even within banking, somebody might be interested to do into risk mitigation, which is, I think, a growing area. So they can morph themselves or they can specialize themselves into a sectoral specialist. Then comes you can be a standalone professional after some corporate experience, after securing a certain element of a degree of comfort in your professional life. You can choose to practice on your own, or you can choose to affiliate yourself with one of those chartered accountant firms or one of the big three, big four, which is the KPMGs, etc. I see something on the chat window. Yeah, that's okay. There's no question. Let me continue. So the third area which one can choose is a standalone professional. Now, amidst these three is the new topic which I think is the emerging area. I think I simply put in this point called emerging areas in yellow because a lot of people will be interested to know that the entire chartered accountant fraternity, we ourselves, we are trying to fight obsolescence in the industry. The reason is beyond income tax, the chartered accountant community never saw anything over the last 50 or 60 years, or even say 80 years or 90 years, you can say. Okay. So what are the emerging areas? Risk mitigation, risk handling, information technology, techno-legal. You can be a pure investor. You can start charting out the stock market. You can start looking into the currency markets. You can be an active investor that way. You can look at providing something like a knowledge process outsourcing. You can get into a sector like logistics. What is logistics? Simply said, logistics is moving goods from X to Y point. There is a logistic service provider, there is a transporter. If it is simple transportation, people don't use the word logistics. If it has something to do alongside the transportation, like picking up the goods, negotiating with the supplier, ensuring that different suppliers' cargo are all consolidated, all that is called logistics. Now you have 2PL logistics, two-party logistics, three-party logistics, four-party logistics, five-party logistics, six-party logistics, or integrated logistics as what we call it. So these are emerging areas. Within financial services, I don't need to tell you, there is mutual fund industry, there is NBFC industry. All these industries require accounting, analysis, compliance. Compliance meaning compliance to taxes, a compliance to regulatory requirements, etc., etc. So the opportunities are simply galore. I can illustrate this the possibility or the windows of opportunity with the statistics as well, which we will see in one of the coming up slides. So the possibilities are fourfold, and the possibilities are just endless. Number one, if you can be an industry professional like me for close to 25 years, in between you can choose to be a sectoral special. In between you can be a professional who's into practice. Now, for somebody into practice, again, the sky is the limit. You can be into audit, you can be into compliance practice. When I mean compliance practice, you can specialize in foreign exchange laws, which is like Foreign Exchange Management Act. You can specialize in anti-money laundering or prevention of money laundering and Black Money Act. Then you can specialize something on the income tax side, you can specialize on the GST side, you can specialize on the intellectual property side, so on and so forth. The sky is the limit for the standalone professional. Then you have a sectoral specialist where you can choose a particular window or a particular area in finance and you can specialize yourself. There are avenues to specialize, so you can just go all out and then specialize to your heart's will. Then come emerging areas. Then comes emerging areas where you have cyber technology, forensics, fraud detection, Then techno-legal areas like, for example, data mining, what people call it. For example, going over a humongous amount of data and then pulling out some statistics to it, which is, I think, innocuously nobody has seen it on the front of it. So all these are the endless possibilities in finance, and those are the sectors which can provide you with unlimited options in finance. Now, having said that, I need to say, just like all other professions, the choice is you can become a thorough professional in finance or you can choose to be a generalist within finance. So what is the distinction that separates the professional, a finance professional vis-a-vis a non-finance professional? Now, that is the matter of choice. Now, the matter of choice is you can choose to become the premium most or the ultimate professional qualification in India, which is becoming a chartered accountant. I don't think I need to stress the difficulty of this course, or I don't need to explain it. We will also see that in the slides to come. Then there is something which is like a second tier to a chartered accountant. I know the chartered accountancy is very difficult. How difficult is it? The chartered accountancy course has got 3 levels in it. There is a foundation course, there is an intermediate course, and then there is a final course. All of these professional courses carry a 3-tier level. There's a foundation, you can call it by any other name. There is an intermediate, and then there is a final examination. Normally, the foundation has 4 papers. The intermediate has 8 papers, and the final again has 8 papers. So you are talking of close to 20 papers over a period of 4 years or a 5-year span. There is no time limit to it, but the number of attempts are capped. That is true for chartered accountancy, cost and management accountancy, as well as for company secretary. Now, just to give you a hint, why chartered accountancy appears or is the premium course for becoming a finance professional in India is because number one, they are the lead accounting standard setter and the chief regulatory body who also directly or indirectly are affiliated with the CMA. I will just abbreviate the cost and management to CMA and the company secretaryship as CS, and to some extent even the legal side of the security markets and the finance come legal or the finance legal setup also in the country. They are hand in the glove with the RBI, with the Ministry of Finance, with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, with policy formulators, with the Niti Ayog, etc., etc., etc. I don't need to stress anything more about the role of the Chartered Accountancy Institute in this particular domain. That is an administrative function. Now, when you're talking again of a Chartered Accountant, in the foundation course, the result percentage is roughly 20%. When I mean 20%, if 5 people write, 1% passes that examination. The criteria for passing in all these examinations is the minimum pass mark in each paper is 40 marks, while the aggregate mark which you have to secure in the 4 foundation papers, for example, would be 200 or 50%, which means suppose there are 4 papers, I can score 40 in one paper, in another paper I can score 60, my aggregate still comes to 100 or I have secured 50 marks. So, but there are many children who give their examination with the hardest of the hopes, while unfortunately they secure 40, 40, 40, 40 and they are still not able to clear it. Let me assure you something. Just because you pass your CA or your foundation in the first attempt does not mean that you will be a successful chartered accountant or you will be a successful finance professional. There are people whom I have seen in real life who have passed their foundation or their intermediate or their final in say 3 attempts or 4 attempts, but and they are faring better than the rank holding chartered accountants as well, or the finance professionals, or amongst various finance professionals, they are still even more successful. Okay, so just to give you a hint once again, in the foundation course, if 5 people write, 1% passes. So the result percentage is 20%. Now you pass and you get into the intermediate course. In the intermediate course, the result percentage is a drastic 50% cut, which is 10%. The rules of 50% aggregate and a minimum pass of 40 still remains in the course, which means in the 8 papers which is there in the intermediate, you have to secure not 320, 8 fours are 320, not 320 to pass the course. You have to secure 40 in all the papers with an aggregate of 400, minimum 50% pass as is the total pass out for the passing the intermediate course and also for the final course. So the result percentage for intermediate is 10%, which means that if 10 people write, 1% pass in the first. Okay. Now you are then moving to the final course. Now the final course is even more difficult. It is more application oriented, which is why or which is what makes it little bit even more complicated. Now in the final course, the result percentage is sometimes 2% or 3%. There have been instances where it has been 5%. I've seen it in certain years. The exams are held twice a year, once during the time of May and once during the time of November. Because of this COVID, there has been certain overlaps and there have been cancellations, postponements, etc. And in principle, the CA Institute has never allowed anybody to write any online examinations. Why? That cannot be said of the other courses, especially during these COVID times. So the chartered accountancy course, if there are 10 people entering in the foundation, 2 pass out of the 10. And out of the and if there are 10 people who are entering the intermediate, 1 pass. And if there are 10 people or say 100, let's give a number of 100. If there are 100 people writing the final examination, the pass is 3 or 5 at best. Okay, so that is all. Now, when we are talking about CMA, again, if there is a foundation, 4 papers, then there is an intermediate, 8 papers, and then there is a final again, 8 papers. There is a small difference which I think I need to bring into for the purpose of for the benefit of the audience. The chartered accountancy course can be enrolled only after finishing your 12th standard. A pass in 12th standard is mandatory for chartered accountancy and for company secretaryship course. While for the CMA foundation, a pass is 10% enough, but you cannot write your foundation examination until you have given your 12th standard examination. So for 2 years, you can secure the books, you can study, you can prepare for the CMA foundation. That is how the course is structured. That is how it has been. Now, recently, because of the COVID, the CA Institute as well as the CS Institute, they have relaxed the issue of giving the 12th examination, and they have provisionally allowed people to enroll for the foundation course, but with a caveat saying that once you apply for your hall ticket, you have to produce the fact that you have given your 12th standard examination. It is not necessary that you have to pass or anything, but you have to give your hall ticket. And if you pass your 12th, then your foundation result will also be announced. If you fail in your 12th, then the result. Anyway, the possibility of somebody failing in 12th standard today is very remote in these COVID circumstances. Now, that brings me to an interesting question. Sir, I would like to choose. There are a lot of people who are asking for annotating request of this presentation. I think it is easier if this presentation is shared after this particular session to everybody. That way you don't need to annotate or anything. A copy of it can be sent across, or I will try to host it in my Facebook page so that people can do it. So I am declining all the annotating requests on the front screen of mine. All right. Now, when I'm talking about, again, I need to stress about finance come legal as a profession. Normally, there are people who feel that this course called CA or this course called CMA is a little grueling. Now, how is the pass percentage in CMA? It is slightly liberal until intermediate in CMA. In final, the result percentage would still be 6% or 5%. Whereas up to intermediate, you can expect say 10% or a 15% pass out. And the courses or the contents are not as exhaustive and as complicated as that of a chartered accountancy. Now, why are you saying, sir, that chartered accountancy is complicated? Because the syllabi is very vast. The syllabi is very vast that you will need a lot of time to be spent to understand and study the syllabi. So, my advice to those people who are wanting to become a chartered accountant is give yourself plenty of time. Number one, plenty of time to understand what you are reading, prepare sufficiently for your examination, comprehend what you are reading. All these three things. These three things are very important. Give time for your preparation. Give time for your understanding of the subject. Give time for sufficiently giving yourself from the time you enroll for the course to the time you think you are mentally prepared to take the examination. Yeah, that is the primer I would give on the chartered accountancy, on the CMA, and on the company secretaryship course. Now, I will now talk about finance cum legal. There are children who are little bit averse towards mathematics. And let me tell you, if you are choosing a career in finance, I think you need a certain element of numeracy. You need a certain element of mathematics knowledge. I would say fundamental mathematics, not too advanced mathematics. Like you don't need to be an expert in phonics in calculus or say differential equations in differential calculus or something very esoteric, something like number theory, real number theory, etc. But if somebody is coming to you and asking what happens to 1,000 rupees, 10% over a 3-year period, simple interest and in compound interest, what happens and what is the result? You should be able to compute it and give it to them. That is the level to or the practicality to which the mathematics requirement is being enforced in all these three courses. Now, that brings me to the course called company secretaryship. Those people who are averse towards mathematics can choose this as an option. You can only get out of mathematics, but you still cannot get out of accounting. And accounting without mathematics is like what to say? A zero without a number one to it. It is virtually useless. So there is some element of mathematics to it, but you can get out of pure mathematics paper. In the foundation of CMA, there is a mathematics and statistics paper in the CA foundation or in the CA entrance, as people call it, or the what do you the first level examination, the foundation examination, there is again a mathematics and a statistics paper and a verbal reasoning and a numerical reasoning paper to it with a quantitative analysis also added to it. Yeah. Now, if I have to talk about finance cum legal, there are people who like to choose, okay, let me not get into all these professional qualifications, which I think is little bit too much for me. So I will do a post-graduation or say a BBA or say an MBA or something like it. And then I will try to get into law as a profession. And if I get an opportunity, I will get into the finance area and I will try to become a finance cum legal. You see, one of the core aspects in finance of being a finance professional is to ensure legal compliance. And when you're talking of legal compliance, when you're talking of legal compliance, there is a certain element of financial knowledge required, as well as how that financial knowledge will need to be applied in law. So that's where the aspect of finance cum legal also comes into picture. So in real life, you will also come across chartered accountants who have qualified as CMAs or company secretaryship. For example, I am a chartered accountant as well as a CMA. Sir, did you not enroll for CS? I enrolled for CS after 10 years after finishing my CA. Then somewhere I lost steam. I lost steam in the fact that not in reading about the course or preparing for the examination. I lost steam in the fact that my mind was not mentally prepared to sit for 3 hours and write the answer. Because I could write the answer in half a paragraph, which is what was my limitation. So I gave up, but I prepared for all the papers in the CS.
Students are coming back. They have to be on a 10-day government quarantine. They have to pay for it. Once they...
Yeah, sir, I think it will be better if everybody mutes their mic.
Yes,
that will help me out.
Yes.
Then comes the issue of those people who might want to.
It says that students or anybody who are coming back, they have to go in for a 10-day paid quarantine.
Ashmita Arumugam, can you please mute the speaker? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that, sir. Now comes the aspect of those people who think that all these are complicated things. I'm not interested in getting into legal. I don't want to understand the laws. But I still want to be a finance professional. Okay, take MBA of finance after doing your undergraduation. But there also, you need to pick your place where you're picking it from. If it is one among the top 10 colleges or the institutes or the management schools or the B schools as people call it, which is the IIM, the XLRI, the XIM, the Faculty of Management Studies in Delhi, the IITs, not many people know that IIT also offers a MBA, including IIT Madras. Then I think you have a fair chance of starting as a good finance professional. Provided in MBA, again, you choose the specialization in your second year as finance. And let me assure you, you might not be going through the grueling session like that of a chartered accountant or that of a cost accountant or that of a company secretary, especially when it comes to law papers or in core accounting. But there are papers even in the MBA curriculum which I think demands an equal amount of importance for one and all, that they will have to spend some amount of arithmetic, some amount of numeracy, and some amount of brain racking to it. So that is about it. And then the choice is I can get into any of the other colleges which is not in the top 10 or in the top 20. And then you become one among the semi-professional finance professional in the industry, because the industry makes a clear bifurcation or a dichotomy between an MBA from the top institutes and from the not so called the top institutes. Now, once you finish any of these, I said in the earlier slide, you can become a sectoral specialist. What do I do? You can get into a specialization like if you are in the insurance industry and you get an opportunity to work in the insurance, there is something called FIII, Fellow of the Insurance Institute of India. It is an autonomous body who conducts certain diploma exams and certain add-on qualification exams. You can pursue it, whether it is life insurance, non-life insurance. You can specialize and you can do those add-ons, etc. Those people who want to become an investor, you can take the NSC different curricula. I think even for children in 11th standard and 12th standard, if they are wanting to get into the investment world, you can start doing the NSE different courses in the NSE, the National Stock Exchange, the online examination courses. You will find that after you clear, say, 16 papers in it or not, or something like it, then I think you are equally valued as good as a professional, finance professional, because the difficulty level even in that is quite substantial and it involves a lot of arithmetic and calculations also, with a lot of mathematics background to it. So this specialization, add-ons, multiple qualifications, a chartered accountant becoming an MBA, a chartered accountant getting into IIM, an IIM person finishing MBA finance and then getting into a chartered accountancy, a company secretary going and doing law. All these things are quite common things which you get to see. Then there are industry-specific affiliations. Like I said, for example, in the logistics industry, there are certain colleges in MBA. For example, if I recollect, I think PSG Institute in Coimbatore, I think they are offering a BBA course in Bachelor of Business Administration course in logistics with a specialization, and they give MBA in logistics also along with operations as a specialization. So that is something which you can take for industry-specific affiliations. This is a matter of choice. So which path you want to do, that is purely your choice. You can become a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, or a finance cum legal, where if you become a lawyer, these four will be touted or seen like a finance professional, with finance cum legal as a semi-finance professional, especially in finance domain, but a full professional on the compliance domain. And then there is MBA finance, which helps you to catapult you more into the corporate world than in the rest of the spectrum. Does anybody have any questions, or would anybody like to interrupt? Feel free to interrupt. Or if you don't have anything, then I shall proceed. I shall give a pause for a few seconds just to understand if somebody has got any questions. Am I still audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Then, if there are no questions, there is still a possibility you can keep asking them as the time progresses also, or in the end of it also. Now, let me go to the next one. What roles can you end up with? If I'm getting into the industry, what are the areas where I will get to work? Somebody has come up with some question. Is there a scope in finance for children who chose science group? Yes, there is a scope for students who chose science group. The CA curriculum does not, or any of the finance professional curriculum does not distinguish anyone that you are a science student and you are a non-science student. Nothing like it. I have seen many BSc mathematics students or even people from the science spectrum switch careers and get into it. So that's not an issue. But Don't come back to me with a question, sir. I have tried, or my specialization is wanting to do into English literature. Can I do CA? No, the institute puts a regulation there. If you don't have this many science papers or maths papers, you cannot pursue this curricula. Rather, you will have to go through the foundation as a stepping stone into the course, and then you pursue it. So there is a way to get into it, but it is a slightly a roundabout. Okay. Now, when you're talking of the roles that you can perform in the finance world, the first role which I would say is that of you can, after qualifying as a chartered accountant, you can start as an accountant or an assistant finance manager, or say assistant manager taxation, a manager accountant, or a chief accountant, or something like it. Because in all organizations you have the lower management, the middle management, the top management. So you cannot climb the first step, or after you finish your CA. I have not seen many people become a CFO. Okay, it takes a certain element of gestation. Even if somebody wants to read through my career, it has taken me close to 10 to 12 years to get into the top management scenario. So I finished it when I went through the graduation method. What is this graduation method in CA? For doing CA, you can go through the foundation as a route. The second option is you can give your graduation, and after that, without taking foundation, you can go and enroll directly for intermediate, where you are expected to do a 3-year articleship with a chartered accountant. In cost accountancy also, now it has come that for 3 years you have to do it with a cost accountant. In company secretaryship also, you have to do an articleship with a practicing company secretary, or with a firm which is into secretarial practice. So this has become now like a mandatory, like the Guru Shishya Parampara. So you have to practice under somebody to understand the tricks of the trade. You learn the ropes of the trade, etc. by doing it. Okay. So it's like a Guru Shishya Parampara. So after qualifying as one of the finance professional, you can get into the general stream of general finance. You can control an organization. You can understand where money comes from, where money goes. Then you can become a CFO over a 10-year or 15-year period. There are bigger organizations who specialize into treasury, hedging, foreign exchange, I mean by foreign, who have monies which are coming not necessarily in Indian rupees when they are incorporated in India. Say, for example, Aditya Birla Group or the Reliance Group, they must be getting quite a few $1 million in US dollars, or in euros, or in say in any other currency as well. So to manage that fund, the inflow of fund, or to source the money for putting up an expansion, all these things will come within a domain called treasury. Simply said, what finance your mother or your father does in your home at a different scale, at a much larger scale with a greater complexity. If a finance professional is getting into that role is an exposure in treasury, hedging, and forex. Then there are companies there are corporates who endeavor to sorry, there is somebody who is interrupting. I think it's better they mute their line. Thank you very much for that understanding. Yeah, there are corporates who indulge in buying out other companies. So those companies, for example, we read that Nestle has acquired so and so, Infosys has acquired so and so entity in so and so country. Now, in those particular areas, etc., there is something called mergers and acquisitions. You combine or you merge two companies. One company buys another company. So there is a due diligence, there is a legal process, there is a financial due diligence, there is a number game to it. Is the valuation which we are buying the company, is that appropriate? So that's an emerging area of specialization, or which is also catching up into small and medium enterprise practice, if you ask me, because this particular area called mergers and acquisitions was a niche practice only of the big three, big four. Now, what are those big three and big four? Within the finance domain, the practice area, there is this Price Waterhouse, there is the KPMG, there is this Ernst & Young, then there is Grant Thornton. These are the top tier audit firms or the accounting firms in the world. These firms are called the big three, big four, accordingly. Okay. So what was the niche practice of the big three, big four now has also come into the SME practice. Those people who are interested to know the names of these four firms, I shall repeat that for their benefit. Price Waterhouse, then there is KPMG, Cluniewert, Peak, Marwick Group. That is the full form of the KPMG word. It's a Dutch firm actually. which expanded into other countries. Then there is another group called Ernst and Young. Then there is one somebody called Deloitte Touche Tohmatsu, Deloitte That is how it is spelled. And then you have somebody which is added also called as Grant Thornton, which is a recent term. So you can say Big Four, Big Five, or Big Three, depending upon the country where they are positioned. Then you can get into something like internal audit. Within the company, there is so much of accounting that is done. Who audits those particular accountants? Are they writing the right accountant? Are they writing the right accounting? Is the procedures which is meant for doing a transaction being followed? So that's a specialization which is also catching up called internal audit. Then comes tax specialization or compliance specialization. Am I complying with income taxes? Am I complying with the GST law? Am I complying with some other legislation which is relevant to the industry, so on and so forth? The emerging area which is risk management. How do I de-risk my company? What is this de-risk? There are lines of business which are complicated, where I think I run a certain element of risk that if I might win 100 or I might lose 100. Now, how do I try to devise a strategy or a methodology so that I don't lose 100, but I try to win 100? How do I minimize the loss of 100? That area which is emerging is what is called as risk management. Believe me, in financial organizations like a chief executive officer, chief financial officer, there is also a designation called chief risk officer, where I think finance professionals or finance come legal professionals have a wonderful avenue as a matter of career. So the role playing, when it comes to the choice of roles, you can end up as a general finance role, you can end up into treasury, you can get an opportunity to practice M&A, you can be into internal audit, you can be into compliance, taxes, risk management. In smaller entities, some of these roles are combined into the CFO or the general. So that does not mean that you are not getting the opportunity to specialize in treasury. You will still get the opportunity, but not at that scale, at that complexity. That is the distinction, or that is how the difference. Okay. Now, let me talk about the gestation. Most parents, when they want their words or their children to get into some professional course, they look at how expensive is it, how long it is, how difficult is it, or how tedious is it per person, and how much do I need to shell, and what is the total value which I will need to spend for my word to qualify as a finance professional. I remember saying you, this is at least one thing I can assure you. If you are not getting into any of the top tier business schools, which is the IIMs, etc., and if you are choosing CA, CMA, or say CS or a finance cum legal, I can assure you that it is a full paisa vasool return on investment. What is this return on investment? I will just explain this. I think I already explained to you that one cannot just like that become a CFO after qualifying as a finance professional. There is a lower management, middle management, and a senior management. There is a gestation depending upon one's ability. Somebody can spend 2 to 5 years in the lower management, then 10 years, and then 10 plus years. The qualification, I said there are 3 levels in all these courses. Once you finish your 12th standard, which is a must, you have a foundation 4 papers, you have an intermediate 8 papers, and the final is 8 papers. You have an articleship training after you give your intermediate. You have to pursue the Guru Shishya Parampara with a chartered accountant, with a cost accountant, or with a company secretary. Alongside, you can do parallel graduation. One of the most often asked questions in most of these sessions is, sir, is graduation a must to do alongside CA or CMA or CS? Now, recently the CA Institute and the CMA Institute have clarified that graduation is not a must. But let me carve out a caveat here. If you pass your CA, then it is all right. Your CA is as good as a pre-PhD qualification. On the contrary, if you are not successful in any of these courses, then the possibility is you might even not end up with a basic graduation. So my advice would be take a parallel graduation. It can be BCom, BBA, whichever is convenient to you alongside your professional CA, CMA, or CS, or legal, or whichever is it. But do it if you feel like you can do it in the correspondence, but don't ignore it. Become an ordinary graduate. That will always help you. because you can always have a plan B. If you are not successful in any of this, you can choose to become a lecturer or a finance professional who is into teaching finance. You can pursue M.Com, you can pursue M.Phil, you can do PhD in finance, and then you can start teaching the chartered accountant. You can value their papers, etc. Now, what is the cost of this entire course? Give or take a little bit, I'm saying this is the fees for the CA course, which is published in the CA Institute's website. The foundation course would be roughly about 10,000. Even if you buy some books to it, etc., it can't be more than say 2,000 or 3,000. The intermediate course would cost you only about 20,000. The final course, the official fee is 24,000. You supplement it, even if you have the best and the brightest student, you will not be able to buy books more than say 30,000 or 40,000. I can write and tell you. So within about a lakh of rupees, you can become a finance professional. If you want to do a chartered accountancy, if you want to do a cost and management accountancy, or if you want to do a company secretary. If it is legal, maybe it could be with the law college fees, etc. It might cost you about 4 to 5 lakhs at least, I would say, at the undergraduation level. But on the MBA side, it is pretty expensive, especially the IIMs, for example. I think on average, they per annum they charge you somewhere about 40 lakhs per annum. I think for 2 years after your graduation with the IIMs, it would be roughly about 80 lakhs. So by the time you come out, yeah. And then once you finish your CA, what happens in the job market? The institute, all these institutes, the costing institute, the company secretaryship institute, and the CA institute, they all have campus placement facilities where I think the starting salary would be roughly about 8 to 10 lakhs, okay, on average, if the person has passed out in the first. And if he is a rank holder, you can understand the scale would be roughly about 10 to 15 lakhs. And if you are in the top 10 ranks, it even goes to 15 to 20 lakhs, where you are positioned by some of the foreign banks, etc., etc. Okay. So, like I said, if you are planning or contemplating to take a professional course in finance, I can write and tell you if it is CA, if it is CMA, if it is CS, or if it is finance come legal. It is a full paisa vasool. It is a return on investment. You can take my word for granted, but you need to put your heart, life, soul, and get through it as diligently and as quickly as. Okay. So this is what I wanted to touch about on this gestation or in the return on investment. Now, I said I will justify certain concepts or certain things with certain hard facts. Now I'm going to talk about some numbers to it. So what is it? For example, an average study in India. I think I picked these statistics from the industry, from the internet. The numbers can be varying a little bit here or there, but I think you can do your background check to it. I don't think they will be very wavered from these statistics which is published in the slide. On average, India produces close to 1.5 million or 15 lakh engineers every year. So the profession has come to a saturation point, except if you have done engineering with the NITs or with the IITs or with any of the IIT Roorkee or with any of the reputed institutes where I think there is a campus placement, there is a higher education possibility, etc., etc. Other than that, the rest of the engineering population has come to a point of standstill where I think they are seen just like any other graduation today. Okay. Now, the total legal profession has 2 million lawyers, not 20 lakh lawyers are there in the country, not more. This counts Ambedkar Law College, the National Law Institute, you name any other legal professional institute. I think if you count all the lawyers in the country, the profession would not be the head count of the profession according to the Bar Council will not be more than 20 lakhs. That is the total statistic. And if you look at doctors, they will not be more than 10 lakhs, something a little less than about 10 lakhs as registered according to the Indian Medical Council, which has been dismantled. I think now it is the Medical Council of India, I think, which is the regulatory body. Now, I think let's talk about the finance professional. Chartered accountants, the institute was formed in the year 1949. From 1949, the people who are enrolled with the institute and who are alive, either they are retired or they are practicing, either with one of the big three or they are even considering, they are working in one of the corporates. The population is just a little less than 3 lakhs. And cost accountants, which is a subset of chartered accountants, because out of this 80,000 population, A lot of them are chartered accountants, and out of the 58,000, some of them are cost accountants as well as chartered accountants. You can see the number of finance professionals which is dearth in the country. Why am I saying that there is a dearth of finance professionals? It is because that there are insufficient chartered accountants, that cost accountants are getting deployed in many places. MCOM people who have finished post-graduation are getting deployed in semi-professional financial places. So you can understand the impact it makes in the real world on governance, corporate governance or good governance. In a population of 1.35 billion or 135 crores, these numbers, I think they speak for themselves. And the number of companies in India is 12 lakhs. Let us take a simple arithmetic. In the 12 lakhs corporates, what we are talking, if we assume that 50% are big companies, say 6 lakhs, each company requires at least one chartered accountant. Forget the fact that a big company like Reliance or say Hindustan Lever or say Procter and Gamble requires at least 20 or 30 chartered accountants in their kitty, in their entire team. So 6 lakhs vis-a-vis 2 lakhs or 2 lakhs 82 or 3 lakhs, you can say. It's quite a dearth of finance professionals. So even if you are assuming that some of the big companies need say 5 chartered accountants, say 6 chartered accountants, the need for the professional people in this spectrum is close to 1.5 million to 2 million, but the results don't endeavor to produce that many people, which is why the value for the course or the demand for the profession is always very high. Now, if you are looking internationally, the CA Institute is the Indian chartered accountants are by far the best chartered accountants you can see in the entire world. I can say this thumping my hand and my heart for the simple reason I have worked in across the countries. I've seen other professional people across with other professional bodies, and the respect they give or they accord to Indian chartered accountants, especially if they're very good in their technicalities. Now, if you look at the total enrollment of all these professions, you can see that forget China. Nobody believes the numbers which are given by China. Okay. So if I were to say the US is the largest chartered accountant professional association, the CPA, there it is called the certified public accountant, followed by India, which would have say roughly 3 lakhs. And out of these 3 lakhs, I'm talking about people who are employed with industry, who are retired, who are practicing individually, who are with the corporates, etc. So all put together is the strength is 3 lakhs. These numbers speak for themselves. I don't think I need to talk. I don't need to tom the need for a finance professional or the importance of a finance professional. Okay. So now the Chartered Accountants body is managed by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which is ICAI. The Cost Accountants body is managed by ICMAI. They also use the abbreviation ICAI. There is an ongoing litigation between these two institutes on that. Then there is a company secretary. His body is managed by ICSI. You can see the years in which they are formed, and you can see the headcount, the enrolled headcount across. All the statistics is available in the internet in their respective web pages. You can take the statistics of the last year, add another 10,000 or 15,000 to it. You will come to more or less 15,000. Okay. Now, I said about there is an open entry, a restricted exit. That is the uniqueness of this course. Anybody can enter. There is no discrimination, barring the people who have done pure, say, English literature as or as a Tamil literature. Okay, only those people are restricted into the entry, and there is a restricted exit, which I mentioned about the percentage of pass out. The 40% pass and aggregate 50%. I covered it by giving you a live example. Now, this third point is very important, which is self-driven learning. One of the issues that people encounter in this COVID, which I get to hear from many people, is my son or daughter is not studying. I think he needs sufficient. The school is not giving enough coaching. Let me tell you, all these courses in finance, if you want to become a finance professional, especially, they're all self-driven learning. What is the self-driven learning? When I was studying, when I used to get a book or a particular subject, and if the book had say 600 pages, so I used to divide the 600 pages. I had the habit of studying cover to cover. Okay, right from the time the heading of the book is there, then written by the edition, right from that page till the last page. Thank you very much. The end of the book. So till that point and the price on the top, till that page to page, I had the habit of reading like that. So I used to divide it. The 600 pages, if I do say 50 pages every day, in 12 days I will finish reading that book. So what do I do with the rest of the time? I will reread that book. I will pick another book in that particular subject and I will do the multiple reading of the same topic, but by another author. So that way, I had the habit of going over the same subject by 5 or 6 authors. And by the time the exams came in, I had gone through, say, 5 books per subject per paper. So that gave me a lot of comfort that I never had the habit of preparing for the 11th hour. I'm just sharing my experience. I'm not saying that is the most foolproof experience. What worked for me may not work for you, but I'm just sharing my thought over here. So that concept called self-driven learning, no matter the number of coaching institutes for CA or CMA or CS or for say finance legal or for even for CAT, MBA entrance, etc. There has to be that inculcation or the habit called as self-driven learning. I need to read by myself. I need to try to comprehend the subject by myself. I think that is what is stressed in the CA curriculum or even in the CS curricula or in the CMA curricula, which is also true when you get into the articleship through a guru shishya parampara. Your professional principal is supposed to explain to you how this audit has to be managed, how or what are the pitfalls in this audit which you need to understand and learn and document. So something like that. Okay. Then with the head count, with the total strength, I don't need to speak anything more about the reputation. There is always the misnomer. Chartered accountants are nothing but who help people commit frauds, or to put it in a very couched way, they help people do wrong accounting, to disclose something. Tell me, in which profession don't we see that immorality? In the medical profession, we see that there is a doctor who is giving a wrong injection, a medication which is not required. In engineering, we see that there are engineers who are bribed and who with some corruption, build a bridge which I think collapses. So that is not the bane of the profession. Okay? It is the inherent nature of certain people or their morality which has to be questioned over there. Yeah. Now, what again I have a request if you can mute the line, that will help the rest of the audience. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Now, that also puts me into a shoes. I'll give you another illustration. 4 months back, I had a customer coming to me or a client coming to me telling, sir, I have got a notice under Money Laundering Act. Okay, I have got
Students, we request you to mute yourself, please.
Thank you.
Students.
Pala Sarvesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry for that. Yeah. Now, like I said, 3 or 4 months back, I had a client who had come to me saying, sir, this was referred to me by another friend of mine who is also a chartered accountant, but who does not practice into money laundering or into Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So he, or under FEMA. Okay. So he came to me and said, sir, I have a notice on from the Money Laundering Act and from the Enforcement Directorate. So my chartered accountant told to approach. So I told him, okay, let me go over your case, etc. And in fact, after going through the case, there was no money laundering at all. It was just that there was an apprehension in the mind of the client. So we gave a right reply and we gave a rejoinder to the notice, etc. And we spoke to the officer and we got it clarified. Now, the reason I'm saying it is, there is this misnomer. The chartered accountants are allow only fraudulent accounting to be done, income tax evasion to be done, etc. Let me eliminate that thought. There might be practicing professionals who might help people by doing it. That is a tribe by itself. But there is a lot of chartered accountants or say cost accountants who are still pursuing in the corporate world, who are doing diligently or endeavoring to do good quality accounting, good quality taxation, tax practice, etc. Where a lot of people are getting benefited. You want to manifest it, you walk into the income tax department as an honest or a straightforward chartered accountant, the officers themselves will start respecting you. You walk into the bank, you walk into any other institution, you walk into a government office with your integrity, upfront integrity and your honest reputation, I think you are seen in the different eye in today's world. And then I don't need to stress upon the relevance in today's world, given that the statistics speak for themselves. Then, not many people know of this. PA is a pre-PhD qualification. So you can get into any of the doctorate curricula, etc., in any of the 60 or 70 universities all over India. These are the three websites of the three professional accounting body. So it is pure meritocracy. So it is pure meritocracy. Okay? If you write, you get the mark, you pass, you qualify. Now, what are the ground reality? See, there was something called GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, that was dismantled. Now the WTO has also been dismantled on it. Now on the service sector side, on services, there was something called General Agreement on Trade Related Services, where accounting is one of the service which is yet to be opened across borders, meaning foreign companies cannot come into Indian accounting zone, or they cannot practice in India, or there is restriction. But foreign accounting, if those entities want to set up a BPO, KPO, etc. in India, that is possible. But still, it is not 100% opening. So there are talks about opening this. And if this gets opened, you mark my words, this is a fantastic avenue for people to get into. Number two, you pick any news in today's from the today's paper or a few days ago paper, be it on corruption, be it on the COVID management, be it on the default of a particular financial institution. Why are these things happening? I have always strongly believed that there is lack of good quality governance. It is the lack of good quality governance which is creating this particular issue or the malady in the economy. So if you want to bring in good governance, become a finance professional and carry the integrity to your heart and to your soul. Then the next challenge that we face is there are changes which are happening too thick, too fast, too quick. That even people like us, like chartered accountants practicing, they're finding it really difficult to keep in touch or keep ourselves updated with it. And the regulatory environment is getting complicated day by day. Like, for example, the Indian Medical Council got dismantled, and now it's the Medical Council of India, which is the single body which is controlling the entire ethicality and the legal regulatory aspects of the medical profession in India. I think it is only a matter of time that the Institutes of Chartered Accountants of India, Cost Accountants of India, and the Company Secretaryship will all come under one window called as NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. I think it has been long wanted, but I know that there is a lot of lobbying individually by all the Chartered Accountant Institute, including papers by us also, saying that we don't want it. We would like to be in the self-regulatory regime, but with the complexities which are happening around us, self-regulatory aspect may not be able to be sustainable in the coming days. General practice is appearing to be vague, but specialized practice and niche areas are catching up. I already touched upon it, like the emerging. The next point is an interesting point where I think there has been a debate which has been going on. So the CA is a decadent profession. It is a dead profession. There is no scope in it. There are artificial intelligence advancements where I think accounting can be completely automized. There is a loss of reputation because there are frauds which are happening. So now let me answer this in three different. The profession is not decadent. The profession is like every other profession is undergoing a transformation. This is also undergoing a transformation. If we can't do the audit, then who will do the audit? You can't expect a machine to do all the audit. You can do the machine. You can expect an artificial intelligence machine to do the accounting, the basic accounting, the low-level job, but not an audit. You need a certain skill set to it. You cannot program everything on artificial intelligence. Okay? So who will do this function? This question is always an unanswered question. Then managing technology. If somebody has to run the algorithm for the artificial intelligence, you still need chartered accountants. You need still a skill set of people with the domain knowledge to run it. So the profession does not become extinct. Then which profession has not been tarnished? It could be engineering, it could be medicine, it could be law. I think for each and everything, for each and every sneeze which is happening, the case is going to the Supreme Court. Does that not undermine the entire quality of the judiciary in the country, that they don't have any better job but to talk about how this has to be allocated to the country, how this has to be done in the country? Or are they to sit in the chairs of a judge for each and every governance issue? So every profession has been targeted. I don't think a chartered accountancy or professional or a finance professional is an exclusion to it. But the clue to all this is you have to continuously reskill to survive. If you don't reskill yourself, the possibility that you will become extinct is quite imminent. So this is the ground reality of the profession, or the likely way how it will shape up in the coming days. And this also gives only a positive image of the humongous amount of scope and possibilities which is existing and the avenues available for finance. That takes me to the most interesting part of the slide, where I think I had parked this introspection, these questions. Let me try to address it in my way. There need not be a consensus to it. We don't need to be agreeing on all the points. But like I said, I'm just using this as a platform to share something over here. Career is a path that we think, or those around us think, which is right for us. I think the days we all appreciate the things or the underlying theme of the movie called Three Idiots, or say Tamil Nanban. But we still have not matured to the extent of allowing our own children to pick a career of their choice. I can assure you, in my house, it is a choice of the child. Whatever she or she wanted to do, they have chosen only that line. Whether they are successful or not, that is for them to carve out and find out their fist of salt or their salt is worth for. Okay? Then, those people who ended up with a career which they did not choose, or which they did not like, or which they did not perceive that they will enter, is that not a career for them? Yes, that is a career for them. I'll give you a live example. Sometime in the year 2005, I'm talking close to say 16 years back, we got a notice in my company saying one particular creditor or a vendor or a supplier wrote to us saying, if you don't pay your bill, you will have to wind up the company. There was a section called 434 /1, I think 433E, I think so, in the old Companies Act, which had the provision that a creditor or a supplier can send you a notice for winding up if the bills are not made. So my boss called me and said, why don't you do some study on it? So I went through the library, the bar council, the bar council library, and I picked up a lot of points, how that notice can be replied to, how the case can be dissolved in no time, etc. And then we won the case also by giving a rejoinder. But what I said is, I asked my boss, can I write this into a small article? He said, okay, go ahead and do it. When did I stop you to do that? So I wrote that article and I sent it for a journal and kept my fingers crossed. That's what it got published with so much of editions. If the write-up was for say 800 words, the number of editions in it was close to 300 editions. So I really cursed myself. I don't think I have the skill to write or anything. But the editor, he picked up the phone and spoke to me and said, your content is very good, so don't stop writing. So that gave me, that opened a vista for me in writing. I have close to now 3,000 articles to my credit. I write occasionally here and there about something on taxation, something on the insolvency law, something about the international tax domain or on GST, etc. So the possibility that you cannot, I have to specialize only in the career which I got into, I think that has become a misnomer. You can keep switching your career, you can reskill yourself, you can top up your skill, you can take, it's like having a vanilla, piece of a vanilla cake and a piece of a strawberry cake and a piece of a pistachio cake. Nobody stops you. The choice is yours. What is passionate to you, you can pursue to it. Now, that brings me to the point, I don't need to address it. Those people who ended up with other careers, are they all failures? Not really. They were even smarter than those who got the choice of the career of what they wanted. They were even smarter than those to use where they ended up with and catapult themselves into the next orbit of efficiency or specialization. So they were even more successful. If simply taking a path is not a career, then what else? Keep reskilling yourself. Build your competencies. What is this building your competency? You can keep, yeah. Yes, I know I'm overrunning the time. I think we are in the last two parts of the Q&A. I think in the last part of the slide. So I shall try to endeavor, like I said. Okay. So simply keep reskilling yourselves and build your competencies. If you build your competencies, you will be even more successful. You will keep changing your career. It is a possibility that you can start as a finance professional and end up as a legal professional. That's also possible. So there is a constant review which is required of your career, and there is a contingent approach. If something comes up which is interesting, which is passionate to me, I will do it. Career switching consciously, unconsciously. I explained to you how writing came as an opportunity unconsciously, while career switching, moving from say paint industry to say logistics industry was a career switching which I consciously did. The last and the most important thing is perform, passion to perform against all odds. If you have the fire in you to find out your worth of salt, I think to perform against all odds, then I think success should always be knocking on your doorstep irrespective of where. Okay? So that would be my answer to all this introspection. So what is the solution to it? Sir, you gave a question, and but you did not prescribe the medicine. Yeah, have a plan B and plan C. Okay, I pursued MCOM also as a career simply because if I had failed in my CA, I would have gone back to teaching. Okay, so have a plan B, plan C. Self-driven, be self-motivated, learn to be propelled, self-propelled. Give yourself a reality check. How do you perform against those people around you? Are you on par with the people around you? Then drop your ego and try to get better and better or more wiser by aging. This comes only by aging. I think it is only a matter of time. All of us had ego. I had one of the worst egos in my younger days. Then I shall reiterate the aspect that one needs to reskill himself. If required, you need to go back to the drawing board. There are days when I pick up the pen and the paper or the blackboard. Yeah, thank you very much for being there, muted. Yeah. Go back to the drawing board, even if it means you need to rewrite and see what you learned so that you remember and then you find out the right method of approach for the right problem. Opportunities will keep knocking. Choice is the complex part. So don't straight away by saying that is not my choice, this is not my choice. Take it, then see whether you're really good in it or not good at it. You never know what your competencies are. I think you need to keep discovering and rediscovering, reinventing your competencies and reskilling yourself. That is what is career planning, etc. all about. The getting desired output does not mean success always. Sometimes success comes by shortcuts, but the shortcuts cannot sustain by in the long run. So don't just look at the output, give it the effort. I think I'll give you the example of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. The Indian team is today like this on fielding or on say anything else simply because of the process which Mr. Mahendra Singh Dhoni had put into place. He wanted efficient people, nimble footedness, agile people, fit people for fielding. I think it speaks for itself, volumes about Indian players being the best fielders today in the domain of cricket. And then pause a little bit in life to look at where have you come from nowhere to now. So take the time to retrospect. I think if you follow these things, you should be having a solution for the introspective points which I wish to get. This is not a cure-all or a panacea. So it cannot fit, the same formula cannot be fit into for in a rigid way. But if you play the game called career or you're shaping up your career or say developing yourself, you should be successful fairly over a period. Yeah. So finally, my quest for salt still continues. And I'm saying this honestly. After the 25 years of experience, there are many areas where I have felt I don't think I have reached or I have seen the salt on that particular area. So join me in the quest forever. If there have been certain things which you still want to reach out to me, I'm there on Facebook under the same name, Srivatsan Ranganathan. You can reach out to me. There is a lot of nonsense which I've written there. You can, some of you might find them relishing, some of you might find them absolutely gibberish as well. So you can reach out with these numbers or on these emails, and then that's all I have to say. So join. Thank you for joining the Salt Quest. I trust this was a very useful session for all of you, and I've shared whatever I have learned over the 25 years of my life. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was wealth of information to all of us. Thank you so much. May I now request all the children to just switch on the camera? Sir, can we have a good click with you?
And I'm sorry I overran the time by 10 of it. Sorry about it.
That's fine,
No
sir.
problem.
I'm sure children have benefited out of it. Children, can we all switch on our cameras? Let's have a quick click with a bright smile.
If sir can also,
Yeah, maybe this should help.
Yes.
yes, sir. And also, sir, can you please stop the sharing so that we can have the children seen there?
Sir, can you stop sharing the screen, sir, so that
Sorry?
can you please stop the screen sharing, sir, so that we can click the picture.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Thanks to see so many children for a very long time. Really.
Thank you so much. Children, do you have any questions? You can type it out in the chat box.
It's better they speak up.
Okay, so you can also ask your questions, children.
I'll leave it to their choice. If you're shy asking, you can type it. If you're not shy asking, you can come on the video.
They're nice, sir. They interact. Children, I hope you're not shy. Feel free to interact so that we are able to hear you. What happened to note? Nobody wants to clarify anything. Is there an interrogation?
Is there any questions, sir?
Sir, I have a question.
Please go.
Sir, you said that career switching is okay, sir, but the people around us say that career switching is not good for you, and then you'll get confused between the both careers.
Good one. I'll actually answer it in a different way. Why are you worried about? Are you worried about what your mind and your heart says, or what you want to do, or are you going to live your entire life only looking at the people around you?
Oh, sir, we have to follow our heart.
Yeah. Okay. So if you have to follow your heart, tell me, after having living and after going through that salt journey with me, if Mahatma Gandhi underwent a 400-kilometer journey with just 78 people, and he ended with 60,000 people. 78 people were the first joiners in that volunteers in that Gandhi march. Okay, you can Google it, you can Wikipedia it, you can find it for yourself. But the ending was 60,000 people. Did he worry about the rest of the congressmen that it is only salt that we are talking about? What is so great about salt? It is one of the smallest, lowest value commodities. Right? Does that not put you into a different perspective? So I think we can't live our point or our profession or our career just for the sake of it. At some point of time, pursue what you like and what you think is your passion. But do it diligently, do it sincerely. You will win the battle someday. Okay? It's only a question of time.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Anybody else, children? Nobody has any doubts? Nobody wants to know more about it?
No,
Speech was yes. Who's that? Somebody said yes. Moshika Jayavahini, you can speak.
No, ma'am, I said no only.
No, only you said very good. Okay. So that means that sir's speech was,
Ma'am,
well, yes.
can I ask a
Yes.
doubt?
Of
Why
course,
not,
go.
Pranay? I can make out
Uh,
that.
s- Sir, if we are getting various job offers with a very high salary at a position that maybe we don't like as much, maybe we're not passionate about, should we still wait for one where we are passionate about, or should we just take the ones with a high salary and which are available right now?
Can I share my autobiographical experience here? It was very similar. When I finished my CA with a rank, I was working as an executive trainee with the Shriram Group, Chit Friends Group, okay, in Hyderabad, looking after their collections and paisa vasool, okay. And when I qualified, they said that they will offer me a position in their corporate, in a corporate. Okay. So I went to them and said, allow me to take the campus interviews, and I will definitely take one of your offers also if that is in line with the market. So when I sat through the campus interviews, 3 companies shortlisted. One was HDFC Bank. I did not have the slightest hint that HDFC Bank will grow to the level what it is today. The other job was of Indian Oil, public sector unit in Barauni in Bihar. I dreaded going to Bihar. Okay, it was Lalu Prasad's domain at that time. Okay, with no law and order. So then what did I do? I wanted a career in multinational. So I got an offer with ICI India, which is now called AkzoNobel, with Dulux Paints as their business. So I thought at that time that was the best offer and that was the most enriching offer which I got. Now, after getting into ICI, 2 years down the line, I started regretting why the hell did I pick ICI. I could have waited for something else to get into something much better. So you see, life will always be a decision of choices. Once you have taken a decision, stand by it, don't look back. But if you are finding it like a drab and of no use at all, get out of it as quickly as possible. I remember the circumstances in which I got out of ICI. I had a wrong rub off with a very senior financial controller who had no concern for people. So one day I walked into his cabin and said, "Here's my resignation. You don't deserve it." At that age of 27, I had the guts to say, "You don't deserve it." Simply because I had belief in myself. Some job will come to my way and I will take it. So that's how my advice would be. You don't need to wait for the best or the most lucrative job. Follow your heart. If you think there is something for you, you can make something out of nothing also. Okay. Like I'll give you another example. I moved out of automotive to logistics to a Swiss company called Panalpina. The interviewer called me one evening and said, "You have an offer for a company called Panalpina. Will you be interested?" I told her on the phone, "Is it Palniappa Transport or Panalpina Transport? Can you spell it for me?" Because I did not believe that there was a transportation or a logistics company of that size which existed at that point of time. And when I got into the company, I realized they were a 400 billion company or something like it on the logistics side, and they were the world's second largest logistics company. So you never know until you get into it. Okay? Follow your heart, follow your mind, follow your passion. That's what would be my advice.
Yeah, I also agree with that,
Yes,
Pranay.
thank you,
Actually,
sir.
it's very important to stay happy. At times, that's one, I mean, not at times, you realize that there is one money cannot buy. So, and I think you have always come across to us as one who listens to your heart, isn't it? That's I was thinking about your academic. That's what you said. I'm very happy. I can do that. So follow your heart.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Nice question.
Anybody else? Srihari, I saw you clapping when sir said something. Srihari, long time since we heard you. You can speak up, Srihari. I know you're here.
I have a question which has come on the chat. Dolly madam had done her intern and was doing her artificial intelligence and the career change became a wonderful. That's an example of career transformation, and it answers the very question. Those people who did not end up into the career which they chose, they are not failures. They are still even more successful people than you are. She's finding her heart. She's finding her heart's satisfaction in this.
Definitely. Definitely. No regrets. Extremely happy. Nothing more, satisfying than being a teacher. Being amidst children, very important.
I thought I will leverage on the point which has been given there. Nothing much. So no personal thoughts or anything. Yeah.
Not at all, sir. Children? Nobody else has anything to speak?
No.
Yes. No. Okay. So I think when Sir was talking about the game of life, the way we teach them, that's something which was, very apt at this point where children are quite doubtful about, uncertain about the whole world, what is happening, what is going to happen, nobody knows. But don't worry, children. You have a very good future ahead. Definitely, we are there with you to support you. And Niharika was talking about validation. This is something which there are a few children still around me whom I meet, though not at school. But then this is something which... Sagarika, would you like to speak? Sagarika? No. So Niharika, not to worry. I think that is over with our generation where we always followed what our adults told us to do. Not all, but quite a few of us. But finally, you will end up doing we ended up doing what we loved. But children, I think all your parents are quite open-minded enough to give you such an option. They are ready to listen to you. That is what we observe with parents around today. So only thing is you will have to communicate. Don't keep anything in mind. Say whatever you wish to do, you will have to communicate to your parent. Unless you speak up to your parents may not be aware of what you have in mind. Abhinav, do you want to speak something, Abhinav? You're unmuted. If you want to speak, you can. Okay. Otherwise, I think we have
I have a
come to the
question.
end of the session. Yes,
Please.
please.
Sir, currently I'm passing our 12th grade and I'm taking engineering branch. I've been doing my undergraduate in engineering. What career choices I have after if I do an MBA as a postgraduate?
What is your ambition and what does your heart say? What do you want to do?
I want to stay in engineering actually.
Okay. Now, if you're wanting to stay in engineering and still you have chosen say and you want to do MBA, does that first not give you a disconnect? Because if you're wanting to stay in engineering, I would have remained a technocrat. I would have never got into management. If
That's
I'm
true,
desperate
sir, but
to get it, wait, one second. I'll hear you. Hear me out. Then I will hear it. Okay.
sure.
So if I want to settle myself, I want to carve a salt for myself. I want that fist of salt, what I am searching for myself. So for that, I need an MBA. Never a mistake. Do your MBA, get into a job. But still follow your passion. Try becoming the technocrat, what your heart and your mind says. You will always get the choice of career switching or an option of both careers, dual careers at some point of time, if you do that thing. Okay? And it's a question of timing. For some people, it can happen tomorrow. For some people, it can happen the day after tomorrow. For some people, it can happen 5 days. The issue is, can I sustain myself? Can I hold my breath? Can I hold my sword? Till then. That's all. Yes, I will hear you.
Okay, sir. So because a lot of graduates after doing a BA or a BTech go abroad, do an MBA and try to get on the board of some company. So that's why I'm asking.
I gave you the answer for it. So if sustainability is the issue and you want to get into the role that you want to stay independent from your family and independent of your parents, carve out and start seeing some money for yourself so that you can win your fist of salt, do that and then still pursue your passion. Nobody stops you. Right?
Sure, sir.
You will be in fact better equipped to pursue what you think. Right? No? See, you see the books over there, they were all accumulated over a period of time. Okay. So I do not have money to buy all those books at some point of time. But I wanted to read all those books. So over a period of time, when I started earning well, then I started buying those books. That's all. That's how you reskill yourself. That's how you carve out for a place for yourself. Does that help you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions, children?
He has explained it so well that they have understood.
Yes,
Further to
Maybe
this, they will think of it and go back later on his
you
effort.
can have, madam, you can have both possibilities. Everything went over the head, everything went into the head. Either of it is possible.
No, even if it is, I think our children will definitely come back. They will not retain their doubts with them. They will come back to us or on your FB page, sir. I'm very confident about it.
They can reach out to me anytime. Okay? You can share my email ID or my number.
Definitely. Yes.
So as we come to the end of today's session, sir, I would like to thank you for such an interesting and informative session. It was as interesting as the heading of your PPT, Searching One's Own Salt. All of us have got a detailed understanding and insight of how to approach different courses available in accounting and finance, and the opportunity to specialize in diverse areas in finance, and also the grit required to become a finance professional, and the plan for a career by reskilling and revisiting their decisions. My sincere thanks to Dr. Savita for initiating such the Pupil Career Talk series and for always being a greatest motivator to all of us. Thank you so much, Mrs. Dolly Mohan, principal of the school, for her support and guidance. Thank you, children and parents, for spending your time with us today and making this a successful one. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for spending your time with all of us today and for such an enriching session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.